to find the complex power. Absorbed by here we go. Option 1, we're talking about the 1 ohm resistor. Question 2, by the negative 10J capacitor. C is by the 5 plus 10J, that's this whole source combined, 5 plus 10J impedance. And D is by the source. Now remember, complex power defined as S equals V times I conjugate. So if I can find the voltage across each one of them, these guys, I can use any technique I want to use. I can use mesh equation to find the current through each one. And once I have the current, I know the voltage across each one. So if I do I sub 1 here, I sub 2 here, I will have 2 equations by 2 unknowns. 120 angle 0 is equal to the voltage drop here, that'll be plus to minus, and plus to minus right here. So it'll be 1 times I sub 1 plus 5 plus J10 or 10J times the current down. What's the current down? I sub 1 minus I sub 2. Yes. Clean that just a little bit. 120 angle 0 equals 1 plus 5, that's 6, plus 10J times I sub 1. And this will be a minus, plus negative 5 minus 10J I sub 2 when you distribute that. Because that's a minus of the whole thing. That makes this minus, that's minus. That's equation 1. Now let's see if we can get equation number 2. Start with this, plus to minus. I'm traveling this way, plus to minus. So 0 equals negative 10J times I sub 2 plus 5 plus 10J. And what's the current going up? I'm traveling this way. I sub 2 minus I sub 1. Clean it. 0 equals, this will be a negative 5 minus 10J I sub 1. Does that look like plus 5 I sub 2? Because the J's will cancel each other out. And that's equation 2. So if I go to my calculator now, I should be able to find what I sub 1 is and what I sub 2 is. Let me go to my calculator here. I have 2 equations by 2 unknowns. Solve them. A1, where's the first equation? Right here. 6 plus 10. 6 comma 10. I sub 2, negative 5 minus 10. The answer, 120 angle 0. Now we go to the second equation. Negative 5 minus 10j. The second value is 5, and the answer is 0. Solve it, and based on that, I got I sub 1 to be 5.16, roughly. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Angle 25.5.
Yes.
And I sub 2 is 11.5 for angle what? 88.9. So I found these currents. So now when I redraw the circuits, I don't have to keep going back to this one. I can redraw that and put the values on it. Negative 10j. Five plus 10j. One. And this is 120 angle 0. Now we know the current I sub 1, I sub 2. Well, we know this current going this direction. That current is I sub 1, isn't it? This is also I sub 1. So that current going that direction is what? 5.16 angle 25.5 degrees. That means the current coming up here is also what? 5.16 angle 25.5 degrees. It's the same branch. We know this current. This is I sub 2. 11.54 angle what? 88.9 degrees. Can we find what that current is right here? How do we find it? KCL. The current going in equals the current leaving. So this plus this equals to that. So this one's going to be the current coming in minus that value. So let me get out of this. 5.16 angle 25.5 minus 11.54 angle 88.9. And this current is what? Did you get 10.32
Yep.
angle negative 64.5? I can also find the voltages here while I'm at it. What's the voltage here? Ohm's law. V equals I times Z. 5.16 angle 25.5. I can find the voltage right here. Ohm's law. Multiply the two of them together. 10.32 times 5 comma 10. 115 angle what? Negative 1.1? 115.4 roughly, right? 3.6 or 4? 0.4. Suddenly I decided to go with whole numbers. 115.4. I forgot the 0.4. the angle negative 1.1. I can tell you what the voltage right here. This times this. 11.54 angle 88.9 times what? Negative 10J, right? 0 comma negative 10. And that answer is, oh, wowza. Let's try it again. I got a massive number. 11.54 angle 88.9 times 0 comma negative 10. 115. Oh, they're in parallel. What am I thinking? Right? Should be the same. 115.4. I drew a mental block there. Negative 1.1.
Oh, I think I know why it's the opposite now.
The conjugate?
Or no, because when it's going in, it's being absorbed, so you
Correct.
have it as negative symbol
Yep.
on the outside.
Here, this will be a plus and this will be a minus. Yep. So let's see. We'll do each one. What's the complex power by negative 10J? Notice the current entering the plus, that's a positive. V times I conjugate. V is what? 11.54. I conjugate will be what? What's the I conjugate? This is 88.9. What's the conjugate of that? Negative 88.9 times the voltage, which is what? 115.4 angle negative 1.1. So we switch that sign because it has to be the conjugate. This is I conjugate here. And this is the V. So we do the math, and they want the answer in rectangular mode, so I'll switch the mode on my calculator quickly to rectangular, so I don't have to convert that. Oh, 11.54 angle negative 88.9 times 115.4 angle negative 1.1. I came out with this, I think, interesting answer. 0 minus 1331.7J. Why is it 0? Remember complex power. This value, the first number, is what? The average power. What's the average power absorbed by a capacitor and inductor? 0. So that's why that number, it's only negative 1331.7J. Do we have that answer for this one?
Yeah, close enough.
Yep. Now the next one. What's the average power absorbed by this source? Now the inductor will have a real power of 0 here, but we've got that resistor too. Positive V times I conjugate. And V is what? Again, 115.4 angle negative 1.1 times I conjugate. And what's the conjugate of that current? 10.32 angle what now? Positive 64.5.
You only take the opposite of the angle.
Correct. One 115.4 angle negative 1.1 times 10.32 angle 64.5. And I came up with 533.2. Where is it? 533.2 plus J what? 1064.9. Do we have anything close to that? Yep. What is the complex power absorbed by the 1 ohm resistor? It's positive again, V times I conjugate. And the voltage is 5.16 angle 25.5 times the conjugate of that, which is 5.16 angle negative 25.5, and those angles should disappear. So it's 5.16 squared. $26.6. If you want to put plus 0J, you can. But it's 26.6. Because they're looking for the whole thing. Complex should have a real and imaginary, so I'll leave the 0 there. And what is the source now? Notice the source is going to be supplying the power. So it's a minus. Minus means supplying. You have the current entering the negative end of the source. That's going to supply the power. So here's the minus sign. What's the voltage? 120 angle 0 times the conjugate of the current, which is 5.16 angle negative 25.5. The minus sign will give us a phase shift of 180 degrees. Negative 120 angle 0 times 5.16 angle negative 25.5. And I came up with negative 588.9 joules positive.
Did you say joules?
Plus the J, complex power. This actually have units for the real portion is watts, and that's VAR. VA is the apparent power. 566 point, what was it, 6J?
Yeah, I got the right one.
Was the book wrong?
No, the book was right. I don't know where, either that or you multiply it through with the negative. That was degrees.
Let's see. Are they asking for the supply? Does it say the supply?
It's absorbed by all of them. Like, I got the same answer as they did, but they had like, they multiplied it by -1 at the end, I guess. Instead of multiplying it through at the beginning.
It's 5.8. Yeah, this would be supplying, so the sign to indicate supplying. So I think they're not multiplying the sign, they're just telling you the source is going to supply the power. So we can use the word supply here if you want to. And if you do the math on that, you end up with 558. I don't know why my number is wrong here. That should be, I just redid the math. 558.9, and the imaginary portion should be minus J, 266 point something. But will be supplied, 0.6. And that's supply. It won't be absorbed, the power by the source. So let me see if they're saying how much power supplied, absorbed.
They say absorbed, so they probably just multiply that last one by a negative.
Yeah, to make that number now supplied, we multiply it by a -1. So if you want to multiply it by a -1 to indicate, remember, minus means supply. So I had the minus here, but I don't know why my numbers were wrong here. So if you multiply this by a minus to indicate it's being supplied, you can. And if you do the math, your answer becomes what? -5. You know what? I think I was dyslexic. I know, because the numbers don't change. Let's see. Let's see why I got different answer the first time. I got 588. I think it was 558. Here's the minus sign, parentheses, 120 angle 0 times 5.16 angle -25.5, right? -550. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, I just typed, I don't know.
You must have just
I think I was seeing things because it says here -558. And can you see it? Yeah. So it did give me the same answers. -5, I don't know, I got 588, but I think it was 558. My eye is probably not good. 266. Yeah. So you can put the minus. So if you don't use the word supply, then you put the minus sign. You can't do both. You know, so supply or the minus sign. If you put the minus sign, so when you're saying, okay, this is not absorbed, that's really supplied. But don't do like when you do supply and negative, that's double negative. So one or the other. The minus means supply, or supply, take the minus out. So you can do it either way. If the book says, what is the power supplied, just write this number. So the minus indicate, this sign indicates being supplied. So if they say, what's the power supply? Then you leave it like this, without the minus sign. If you don't put the word supply, then you put the negative in the front. But don't do both. Yep. So again, I'm just repeating myself 10,000 times. If I take the minus sign out, I will write supply here. Just I want people to understand that. Or I can distribute that minus sign and that replace the word supply. Any other questions on complex power? While I'm at it, while I'm recording. No?